Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, Miss Emma MPD and dear our friends. We are from Group 3 and we are going to deliver a presentation with titled Teaching, Speaking, Oral Communication for Academic Purposes. Without any further ado, let's go on to the first speaker, Hennie. The screen is yours.
Okay. Courses that are designed for academic purposes usually entail a specialized set of objectives and tasks because students are learning the L2 for the purpose of pursuing a degree in the medium of the L2. Jadi kursus atau kelas akademik memiliki tujuan dan tugasnya masing-masing sesuai dengan kelas akademik mereka. Masing-masing kelas ini memiliki genre bahasa yang unik yang hanya dimiliki oleh masing-masing kelas. When students finish this course, students should be able to participate in discussion of a general and academic nature through listening, analyzing, and giving spontaneous feedback to others' presentation and contribution during the seminars and orally express their own opinions and arguments in English prepare. And then give oral presentation to small audience. And the last, make use of different types of reference materials such as the phonetic transcription in dictionaries to improve their communicative abilities in spoken English. This course introduces you to group discussion strategies and presentation skills, and in these courses, there is a focus on pronunciation and vocabulary development as you learn about presentation and discussion. Next. Discussion. One of the most difficult aspects of L2 learning is developing the ability to initiate and sustain this question in the classroom. Discussion is the important to learning in all disciplines because it helps students process information rather than simply receive it. Tujuan dari diskusi adalah mengajak siswa untuk berlatih berpikir tentang materi pembelajaran. Peran guru adalah menjadi fasilitator dan juga pembimbing. Guru lebih condong ke merancang dan fasilitasi diskusi daripada menyampaikan informasi. Mereka bisa mendapatkan pemahaman materi yang sama jika mereka menerapkan diskusi dalam memahami materi tersebut. We as a teacher can organize a discussion in many different ways. We can have students work in small groups, role play, choose sides for a debate, or write and share a paragraph in response to the theme in question. And also leave time to wrap up and summarize the discussion for our students, or have students summarize it, or to debrief after activities such as debates or role plays. Next. Presentation. This range from brief, informal, quickly prepared monologues to longer speeches that are prepared well in advance and are more formal. We all know what is presentation, right? Presentation sendiri adalah praktik menunjukkan dan menjelaskan konten suatu topik kepada audiens. Presentasi datang dalam berbagai bentuk sesuai dengan situasi kehidupan. In the education world, such as seminars, workshops, and so on. Durasinya pun bervariasi from 1 minute or more than that, then depending on what they discussed. Effective speaking demands a high level of skill in oral presentation of material and foolish compression on the part of the instructor. Presentasi dipercaya mampu mengembangkan akademik komunikasi siswa. Dengan seringnya melakukan presentasi, siswa akan terlatih untuk menggunakan kosakata akademik. Selain itu, juga menumbuhkan rasa percaya diri di dalam diri siswa saat speaking in English. Next. Teaching pronunciation. With the focus on becoming an effective and necessary component of communicative approaches, and with convincing research providing support, it became clear that pronunciation was key to gaining communicative competence. Jadi pada awalnya, pronunciation itu tidak diperhatikan atau tidak menjadi fokus utama dalam pembelajaran bahasa, khususnya speaking skills. Namun, pada pertengahan 1980, para peneliti mulai mengubah pandangan ini. Mereka berpendapat bahwa harus ada keseimbangan antara kefasihan dan juga ketepatan. This means when we are talking but not accurately inside the word or vocabulary, this makes miscommunication between speaker and listener. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, I will explain about teaching pronunciation. According to Murphy 2013, current approaches to pronunciation contrast starkly with the early approaches. Rather than attempting only to build learning articulatory contents from the bottom up, and simply as the master list of phonemes and allophones, a top-down approach is taken in which most relevant features of pronunciation stress, rhythm, and intonation given high priority. Instead of teaching only the role articulation with words or at best, phrases, we teach its role in whole stream of discourse. Next. Three decades ago, Wong, 1987, page 21, reminded us that contemporary views of language hold that the sounds of language are less crucial for understanding than the way they are organized. Rhythm and intonation are greater priority in the teaching program than attention to individual sound. Jadi, mengapa ritme dan intonasi merupakan prioritas utama dalam pengajaran? Perlu kita ketahui bahwa lingkup pengajaran pronunciation itu ada tiga pokok bahasan, diantaranya yaitu ritme dan intonation. Yang pertama yaitu ritme. Ritme merupakan sebuah perkataan bahasa Inggris yang ditentukan atau bergantung pada kesatuan tone atau kata atau kelompok kata yang memuat satu pokok suku kata yang ditekan. For example, pada kata Peter, come here, please. Kata tersebut bisa dibagi menjadi dua kesatuan tone. Yang pertama yaitu Peter, come, dan yang kedua yaitu come here, please. Di mana penekanan yang pertama itu terletak pada kata Peter dan yang kedua terletak pada kata here. And the second is intonation. Intonasi merupakan naik turunnya tone dan ini akan sangat mempengaruhi pada makna suatu kata. For example, pada kata fire, misal kata fire ini dibaca dengan intonasi naik, maka bisa dimaknai dengan ada api atau kebakaran. Namun jika dibaca dengan intonasi yang menurun, maka kata fire ini bisa dimaknai sebagai pertanyaan, seperti ada api. Dan yang ketiga yaitu sounds atau bunyi. Meskipun pada pendapat di atas dikatakan bahwa bunyi bahasa bisa dibilang kurang penting, namun sounds atau bunyi ini merupakan suatu kemampuan dasar dalam bahasa Inggris yang harus dimiliki para pembelajar untuk mampu mengidentifikasi dan mendefinisikan bunyi suatu bahasa dengan menulisnya menggunakan simbol fonetik. Dalam bahasa Inggris, simbol yang digunakan ini berbeda-beda tergantung pada aksen. Seperti yang kita ketahui, aksen pada bahasa Inggris yaitu British, Australian, atau American. Adapun komponen dari sounds ini adalah vowels and consonants. Jadi, ketiga hal tersebut merupakan tiga hal yang perlu diperhatikan dalam teaching pronunciation. Karena dengan adanya pembelajaran mengenai sounds atau bunyi, maka hal ini akan membantu para pembelajar agar lebih cepat dalam memahami apa yang mereka simak atau apa yang sedang mereka dengar. Dan juga dengan adanya pembelajaran mengenai ritme atau penekanan dan juga intonation, maka hal ini akan dapat membantu memperjelas sebuah kalimat yang dimaksud oleh seseorang ketika sedang terjadi komunikasi atau sedang melakukan komunikasi dengan orang lain. Karena terkadang berbeda intonasi, maka berbeda pula maknanya. Next. So, as a teacher in teaching pronunciation has objectives that depend on the level. First, at the beginning levels, the teachers want learners to surpass that threshold beneath which pronunciation detracts from the ability to communicate. And the second is at the advanced levels, pronunciation goals can focus on elements that enhance communication. Intonation features that go beyond basic patterns, voice quality, phonetic distinctions between registers, and other refinements that are far more important in the overall stream of clear communication than rolling the English R or getting a vowel to perfectly imitate a native speaker. That's all from me. Thank you. The next slide will be explained by Yuki.
Thank you, Naya. Okay, so for this part, I will explain about learner factors that affect pronunciation. Okay, so for the first factors, it is native language. Native language, or we can say the L1 of the speaker, of the learner, it is the most influential factor affecting a learner pronunciation. For example, we are Indonesian. So when we talk in English, maybe some Indonesian say things like, for example, there's this thing we call write, menulis. But some people say it as write, not right, but right, I mean, itu karena that's because like since we are Indonesian, we are used to using Indonesian for talking. Jadi itu kayak sudah susah untuk dirubah. Misalnya we say in English we say R, but in Indonesia we say R with R gitu. And it's hard to change because native language itself, we use it every day. We use it like almost every day, and sangat sering lah kita gunakan dan terbiasa dengan menggunakan native language itu. Akhirnya ketika belajar L2 atau second language, belajar second language, akhirnya menjadi susah. Nah, bagaimana cara mengatasinya? It can be overcome by a focused awareness and effort on the learner's part. Jadi harus aware dengan kesalahan-kesalahan itu, dengan language error itu, dan punya effort untuk memperbaikinya. Learnersnya harus punya effort sendiri. Untuk yang kedua itu, age atau umur. Biasanya kalau anak-anak kan di bawah umur, biasanya kan mereka umumnya bahasa sendiri aja kan masih belajar seperti itu. Sementara kalau orang dewasa, biasanya mereka karena sudah terlalu banyak input dari native language-nya atau input dari bahasa sehari-hari yang digunakan, otomatis kan itu sudah terset sendiri seperti itu. Kayak misalnya accent-nya, terus vocabulary-nya, seperti itu, kayak sudah terlalu banyak input lah, terutama accent sih, masalah accent. Jadi otomatis mungkin akan lebih sulit daripada anak-anak yang belajar bahasa asing itu untuk mempelajari accent-nya. Karena biasanya orang dewasa accent-nya itu sudah punya accent yang kuat. Nah, tapi sebenarnya ini tidak pengaruh kalau misalnya, dan cara mengatasinya itu sendiri, kita bisa mengingatkan learners, murid kita, bahwa umur itu tidak penting, bahwa like a 50-year-old can be as successful as an 18-year-old if all other factors are equal. Jadi just remind your students that, especially if your students are older, that the younger the better is just a myth if they are willing to change. Kalau mereka pengen berubah, mereka punya effort tersendiri untuk mengubahnya. Jadi it's just a myth gitu. Nah, yang nomor 3 itu exposure. What is exposure? Exposure, paparan. Jadi misalnya kita tinggal di luar negeri. For example, we live in the USA. Although we speak bahasa as our native language, as our mother tongue, tapi misalnya kita live in the US gitu loh. Tapi kita tidak benar-benar bertemu dengan orang-orang gitu. Cuma tinggal aja, tapi di rumah aja terus. It doesn't mean that you can master the language, you can master English just by living in US, but you have to actually mingle with the people. Jadi it doesn't matter if you live in foreign country for some time. For example, like for 2 years, you live in the USA for 2 years, but you don't really mingle with the people. it won't do anything with your language. It will be different if you live in the USA, for example, for 1 month, but every day you meet with people, you talk with people who speak English, with the native people, it will improve your language skill. Jadi it doesn't matter kayak misalnya berapa lama belajarnya, tapi kalau misalnya tidak dilatih tiap hari, tidak digunakan tiap hari, it won't be used. Jadi untuk mengatasinya ini, di dalam kelas itu kita bisa fokus dalam mempelajari pronunciation. Jadi harus dilatih setiap hari dengan full attention, dengan atensi yang full gitu. Dan kemudian juga interest dari studentsnya. Nah, maka itu akan punya kesempatan besar untuk meraih goals dalam pelajari pronunciation tadi. Nah, untuk yang keempat sendiri itu innate phonetic ability. Nah, biasanya ada yang namanya dibilang itu someone who have an ear for language. Jadi itu kayak punya telinga yang bagus dalam mendengar sebuah bahasa, walaupun bahasa asing. Nah, biasanya kalau orang itu sudah punya kayak misalnya sudah punya exposure tersendiri atau sudah terpapar oleh bahasa asing tersebut misalnya dari kecil gitu, maka pas dia sudah besar kemudian dia belajar bahasa asing itu, maka walaupun dia ingat atau tidak bahasanya, tapi pastinya biasanya dia kayak sudah terbiasa, karena sudah pernah mendengar dulu itu. We call it as knack in is person whether the early language is remembered or not gitu lah. Terus ada juga yang misalnya memang susah gitu kalau mendengar bahasa asing itu terasa asing sekali. Nah, biasanya itu agak susah biasanya untuk belajar pronunciation. Jadi untuk mengatasinya ini memang mungkin pronunciation terasa secara alami gitu, terasa sulit untuk beberapa siswa. Tapi mereka tidak boleh menyerah atau gimana, nggak boleh bersedih gitu. We have to encourage them, kayak mereka harus punya effort gitu loh, didorong untuk terus build their effort and concentration in the learning process. Jadi, they can improve their competence. Next, identity and agency. Jadi ini berhubungan dengan identitas dan agensi. Jadi siswa itu harus memiliki kesadaran akan identitas juga gitu loh. Another influence is one's perception of speakers of the target language and the extension to which the L2 user identifies with those speakers. Jadi learners, siswa itu harus diingatkan betapa pentingnya positive attitudes kepada orang yang berbicara bahasa itu gitu. Nah, yang lebih penting lagi, siswa harus aware dan tidak takut terhadap the second identity, identitas kedua yang mungkin akan muncul dari mereka setelah belajar bahasa tadi. Yang terakhir itu, faktor terakhir itu motivation and concern for good pronunciation. Some learners are not particularly concerned about their pronunciation, while others are. Jadi beberapa siswa itu tidak sadar atau tidak concern tentang pronunciation, sementara yang lain mereka sadar dan tahu bahwa itu penting, bahwa pronunciation itu penting. Jadi misalnya nih ya, seberapa sadar mereka akan pentingnya good pronunciation itu benar-benar akan yang kayak mendorong mereka performa mereka dalam belajar pronunciation ini. Termasuk itu juga berkaitan dengan motivasi. Kalau misalnya mereka memang punya motivasi, aku harus belajar pronunciation. Pronunciation is good, jadi aku harus belajar gitu. Aku termotivasi nih buat belajar. That is very important, kayak factors yang important in learning pronunciation. semakin tinggi motivasi dan semakin tinggi concern-nya, maka kayak also like necessary effort will be expended in pursuit of goals. Jadi untuk mengatasinya, misalnya ada yang punya motivasi yang rendah dan concern yang rendah, sebagai guru, we can help learners to perceive or develop that motivation by showing, among other things, how clarity of speech is significant in shaping their self-image and ultimately in reaching some of their higher goals. Dari keenam faktor tadi, jadi yang paling penting itu effort dan keinginan siswanya sendiri, yang kemudian sebagai guru kita harus mendorong siswa untuk maju dan terus belajar. Yang penting itu effort, and that effort itu concern, motivation, and all that. Okay, for the next materials, it will be explained by Kath, and it will talk about the excerpts of lesson design to teach different aspects of English pronunciation, along with some description of meaningful minimal pair exercises. Okay, please, Kath.
Okay, thank you, Yuki. So here I'm going to explain about meaningful minimal pairs. Traditional minimal pairs used for decades in language teaching. CLT and TBLT principles, which emphasize that language should be as close as in real life, push us to be more meaningful. For example, the teacher said, "This pen leaks." The student then said, "Then don't write with it." And then the teacher said, "This pen leaks." And then the student said, "Then don't cook with it." Here the teacher using two same sentences. Dan di sini muridnya mengelompokkan dari dua pair tadi, yaitu pen dan pan. Di situ mereka harus memahami konteks dari dua kalimat yang mirip tadi. Jadi itu maksudnya adalah agar minimal pairs tersebut lebih meaningful. The next one is the oral communication techniques. Sebenarnya oral communication techniques ini sangat banyak macamnya, namun berikut ini adalah yang lebih disederhanakan, yaitu ada 5. The first one is oral dialogue journals. Di sini murid diminta untuk membuat audio recordings tentang apa yang mereka pikirkan dan apa yang mereka ingin tanyakan. Dan di sini teacher akan menjawab pertanyaan tersebut. The next one is games. Games di sini bisa dilakukan dengan team building atau guessing games, dan bisa dilakukan secara berkelompok maupun seluruh kelas. The next one is role play. Role play di sini memberi kesempatan pada murid untuk get outside themselves. Jadi mungkin mereka bisa mengutarakan pendapat yang mungkin mereka sendiri tidak akan mengutarakannya. Di sini role play dapat dilakukan dengan interviews, simulations, atau problem-solving activities. The next one is information gap. Information gap requires collaboration between students to derive the desired information. Aktivitasnya antara lain map exercises, ranking, dan problem-solving. The last one is oral form-focused activities. Beberapa teknik kadang sangat berhubungan dengan grammatical forms. Dan dengan ini, meaningful communication dapat menjadi useful practice exercises. The next one is focus on form and error treatment. The role of feedback. The feedback a learner receives from others is one of the keys to success L2 learning. The quality feedback lies in what teachers choose to learners' attention, how they do it, when they do it, and in what manner. Jadi peran feedback itu sangat penting dalam pelaksanaan L2 learning. Kualitas dari feedback tersebut dapat menjadi support atau encouraging dan affirming verbal or non-verbal feedback terhadap murid. Interruptions and corrections will lead learners to shut off their attempts at communication. Kadang terlalu banyak interupsi atau koreksi dapat membuat murid lebih sulit untuk mengutarakan pendapat mereka atau berkomunikasi. Jadi, kualitas feedback ini dapat membantu murid lebih percaya diri dalam melakukan oral communication. The next one will be presented by my friend.
Okay, thank you, Kathrin. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Kimilia Azzahra, and today I'm going to explain about how to treat the error. So speaking of oral communication, one of the main dilemmas for teacher in giving conversation activities is error connection. It is always tricky, you know, when to know when and how to deal with the errors that our student make. So when a teacher know about the errors that the student make, the first choice that a teacher need to make is to decide whether to treat the error or ignore it. So here is some following option that we can use to deal or to treat the error that we can do. So the first is treat immediately or delay to a more appropriate moment. So here the teachers should know about the situation first. Karena apabila guru mengkoreksi, jadi guru tuh bisa langsung mengkoreksi errornya siswa atau mendelay dulu. Tetapi yang harus diperhatikan di sini adalah apabila guru, karena ada plus minusnya. Jadi apabila guru melakukan treat immediately ini secara terus-menerus, itu bisa mengganggu flow dari kegiatan di dalam kelas. Nah, kemudian apabila di-delay, itu juga bisa menyebabkan bisa lupa gitu ya. Jadi guru ingin mengkoreksi ini sebenarnya, tapi pada saat di-delay, jadinya lupa gitu. Nah, kemudian yang kedua adalah treat explicitly or give the student an opportunity to self-correct. Nah, guru bisa memberikan koreksi secara eksplisit kepada siswa atau memberikan siswa kesempatan gitu untuk mengkoreksi diri mereka sendiri, maksudnya seperti itu. Jadi hal ini bisa, contohnya itu bisa dilakukan dengan mengulang kesalahan siswa. Misalnya pada saat siswa mengatakan I am understand, kita tahu gitu grammarnya di situ salah. Nah, jadi caranya adalah dengan mereka mengkoreksi diri mereka, kita bisa ulang gitu dengan lemah lembut. Remember, harus selalu dengan lemah, harus selalu dengan lembut gitu, karena apabila kita marah langsung mengkoreksi secara langsung kayak marah gitu, itu bisa mengurangi kepercayaan diri siswa itu tersebut. Contohnya tadi kayak I am understand, kemudian kita bisa mengulangi apa yang dia omong gitu, I am understand gitu kan maksudnya. Nah, di situ kita bisa tahu gitu apakah dia bisa mengkoreksi dirinya sendiri apa tidak. Kalau misalnya tidak, berarti kita bisa mengatakan grammar yang benar gitu. Misalnya I do understand, seperti itu. Kemudian next, the teacher can initiate treatment or defers to the other student. Nah, maksudnya di sini adalah guru menginisiasikan atau memulai perbaikan, kemudian diserahkan ke student yang lain. Nah, jadi di sini kita bisa memberikan kesempatan untuk siswa kita treat error temannya yang lain, seperti itu. Nah, kemudian the fourth is if the letter differ to an individual or to the whole class. Jadi guru juga bisa mengkoreksi error yang ada secara individual langsung ke siswanya atau ke seluruh kelas gitu. Nah, kemudian yang terakhir adalah return or not to the original error to make after treatment. Setelah guru memberikan treatment ke error yang di siswa gitu ya, guru bisa mengulangi kembali, bisa mereview kembali dari awal dan meninjau kembali bersama siswanya apakah ada perbaikan atau tidak, apakah di situ ada improvement atau tidak. apakah siswa itu mengerti atau tidak, seperti itu. And always remember that every teacher will have different views on this and different ways of correcting their student. And it's a case of finding out what both of you and your teacher feel comfortable with. Jadi setiap guru itu memiliki caranya masing-masing gitu untuk treatment the error of the students. So next. Nah, jadi di sini then if some form or treatment is chosen, quite a number of strategies treatment of possible among those are. Nah, jadi di sini kita ada contoh bagaimana cara memberikan treatment gitu ya kepada siswa kita. Yang pertama, simply indicate possibility non-verbally that an error occur. Jadi indikasikan dulu apa kesalahannya gitu ya. Kemudian point out the location of the error. Contohnya misalnya pada saat siswa kita bilang, I go to the store yesterday. Kemudian kita ulang. Oh, I see. You went to the store yesterday. Jadi kita mengulang itu mereka bisa mengidentifikasi gitu salahnya di mana. Jadi kan go karena di situ ada yesterday, jadi seharusnya when gitu. Nah, kemudian indikasi tipe errornya. Kita bisa nanya ke siswanya kayak kamu kapan gitu kan ke store-nya. Kalau misalnya mereka bilang yesterday, then we ask to them what is the past tense of go, seperti itu. Nah, kemudian yang perlu kita note di sini adalah harus hati-hati dalam mengkoreksi error dari siswa. Karena bahayanya adalah apabila kita melakukan overcorrecting adalah itu the student will lose motivation and you may destroy the flow of the class or the activities by butting in and correcting every single mistake. Jadi jangan juga setiap kesalahan siswa itu sebenarnya bagus, tapi pada saat kita, misalnya siswa melakukan conversation bersama kita, kemudian mereka melakukan kesalahan. Apabila kita terus-menerus meng-cut mereka ngomong gitu ya, langsung di koreksi, itu bisa menghilangkan motivasi mereka dalam belajar. Dan ingat, kita juga harus selalu meng-encouraging siswa kita dalam nggak apa-apa kalau misalnya salah itu gitu, kan kita juga belajar. Nah, tapi juga di sisi lain apabila kita membiarkan percakapan itu berlangsung dan tanpa menghiraukan kesalahan yang dilakukan siswa, itu juga berbahaya gitu ya, karena itu tadi. So there are times when this is appropriate, but most of students do want to have some of their mistake corrected as it gives them a basis for improvement. Jadi siswa itu juga mau kok gitu di improvement kesalahan mereka untuk melakukan improvement gitu terhadap mereka. So I think that's all from me. Dan pembahasan selanjutnya itu mengenai assessing speaking in the classroom that will deliver by Zahra. So Zahra, please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Kimilia, for the opportunity. I'm Dzahabiyah Zahra, and I'm going to deliver a presentation about assessing speaking in the classroom. So there are 3 pre-considerations in designing speaking assessment in the classroom. There are, first, specify the category of speaking performance from imitative to extensive. So we have, as a teacher, we have to choose what the task will use. Is it imitative? Is it extensive? Is it interactive? And so on. Then describe the micro and or macro skill that are to be assessed. So it should be determined the skill we would like to be assessed. Is it micro or is it macro? Then the genre of spoken language that is being assessed. Is it speech? Is it presentation? Is it discussion, debate, informal conversation, and so on? Next. Now, types of items and tasks for assessing speaking. There are 5 types. The first one is imitative speaking task. So in here, in this kind of the task, the students are asked to repeat what the teacher said. It may be minimal pairs, it may be word, it may be sentence. For minimal pair, for example, like this, the teacher said, repeat after me, bat, pat, for example, like that. Or sentence, for example, questions. So the students should aware with the intonation, is it falling or rising? For example, when did they go on vacation? For falling. And then for rising is like, do you like coffee? Then the second type of task is intensive speaking task. There are some tasks including in it. The first one is directed response. For example, like, tell me he went home, the teacher said. Then the students are said, he went home. And then tell him to come see me. For example, the students say to the other students like, come see the teacher. For example, like that. Then read aloud for either pronunciation or fluency. So here, the teacher will provide a paragraph on the passage to the students. Then they will read it loudly. Next is oral sentence completion. For example, the teacher will say the sentence but omit the part of the speech. For example, like this, yesterday I, then the students will continue the sentence. For example, yesterday I went to the shop. Next is oral close procedure. This is almost same with the oral sentence completion, but it is only one part omitted. For example, like this, yesterday I to the grocery store. In this sentence, there is only verb that omitted. So the students will repeat the sentence, but they put the appropriate verb. For example, like this, yesterday I went to the grocery store. Then dialogue completion. In here, the teacher will give sentence, will give the question so that the students can continue. Then they will make the dialogue. For example, like this, the teacher said, may I help you? Then the students will answer, yes, please. I want, for example, I need a glass of water. For example, like that. Then directed response. Here, the teacher will ask the students about some question, for example, like this, what did you do last weekend? Then the students will directly give the response. For example, after the teacher said, what did you do last weekend? And the student will answer, I went to the beach, for example. Then teacher could elicitation of a grammatical item. For example, the grammatical is comparative. So the teacher will provide a picture, which the picture will contain some things, for example, 2 or 3 things. So the students will be asked to give comparison between the things in the picture. For example, like the picture on the slide. There are three children here. Then the students will be asked to give comparison about those things. For example, they will say the boy is taller than the girl. Next is translation into the L2. Maybe it is of a word, phrase, or sentence, or 2 sentences, or even more. For example, so the teacher will give the sentence or give the word or give the phrase, but in native language. Then the students will translate it to L2. For example, the teacher will say, saya pergi ke pasar. Then the students will say, I go to the market. Okay, next slide. Then the third is responsive speaking task. Here, there are some kind of tasks in it. The first one is picture code elicitation of response or description. It is same like the grammatical items before, but this one, the level is advanced. So it is more like the students are asked to describe the things on the picture. So they will describe what the quality, what the color, what the size, and so on. Then map code elicitation of directions. So the teacher will provide a map which consists of the direction, which consists of the street, the name of street, the name of place. And then the teacher asks the students, how do I get to the post office, for example? Then the students will give directions based on the map. Next is question and answer, but with open-ended questions. For example, how do you like this weather? So it is depend on the students what will they give they answer. So it is open-ended. Artinya jawabannya ini terbuka, terserah kepada siswanya mau menjawab bagaimana, apakah he likes it or not. Then question elicitation. For example, so the teacher will give instruction to the students, and the students will say as same as the sentence, but with elicitation. For example, like this: ask me about my hobbies and interests. Then the student will say, what are your hobbies? Then elicitation of instruction. For example, the teacher said, what is the recipe for lasagna? Then the students will give the recipe for lasagna, but in instruction form. For example, first you have to do what, for example, but by using instructions. Then paraphrasing of a short narrative or phone message or short paragraph, short passage. So the teacher will provide a short paragraph, a short narrative or phone message. Then the students read it. After that, they are asked to paraphrase what they have read. Then the fourth task is interactive speaking task. There are 4 tasks included. The first one is oral interview. So the teacher as the interviewer and the students are the one who are interviewed. Then role play. The teacher give the topic. For example, you are going to the police station, but you don't know where is it. So you ask your students, you ask your friends. So they will play role as the one who needs directions and the one who give directions. Then discussions and conversation. It can be like debate or conversation and others. Then games. The games is depends on the teacher. There are so many games in speaking task. So it depends on the creativity of the teacher. Then extensive speaking task. The first one is oral presentation in academic or professional context. For example, a seminar proposal presentation. Then picture could, the extensive one, storytelling. So it is more like the picture could elicitation on the responsive speaking task, but this one is more advanced. So we give the picture, the teacher gives the picture, and then the students look at the thing at the thing of the picture, then they give the story of it. For example, it is picture about Malin Kundang. Then the students will tell the story of Malin Kundang. Then retelling a story or news event. Here the teacher ask the students, or the teacher itself provide the story or news event, then the students read it, then they will retell the story or the news event in their own words. It's more like example like short story, news article, and so on. So retelling. So they're retelling the short story or news article they have read. All right. Okay, I think that's all from our presentation. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.